Hi, everyone. Right now in Antarctica, there is an iceberg twice the size of New York City about to break away from Antarctica's Brunt ice shelf. Scientists in the UK's British Antarctic Survey announced this week that the huge Halloween crack, as it's called, is about to meet up with another long crack called Chasm 1 that has grown more than 650 feet just since mid-March this year. When those two cracks, marked with red lines in this illustration, meet at the large red circle surrounded by dots, it is expected that the 660 square mile giant iceberg that is twice the size of Manhattan, created by those huge cracks meeting up, that iceberg will fall into the Weddell Sea. NASA says this could be the biggest iceberg to break off the Brunt Shelf in more than a century. Scientific measurements of the waters around the Brunt Shelf in West Antarctica, marked with the upper red circle, show the water is warming and the ice shelves are thinning. Is that warming also linked to why snow and ice are melting around the once hidden huge alien black basalt entrance at the lower red circle near Beardmore Glacier? Navy SEAL Commander Spartan 1 told me that in his military career, he had been told there was some geophysical evidence that Noah's Ark events repeat on Earth. That's when massive floodwaters take over land masses. Could a Noah's Ark cycle be upon us now in this century? And if so, is one of the big secrets the possibility there will be even greater geophysical and climate upheaval on our planet for the rest of this century? Is that why insider power brokers from the United States, China, and Russia are pushing hard to get bases on the Moon and Mars? 3 years ago, in 2016, a physicist who worked at Area 51 outside Las Vegas told me there is buried archaeology and foreign hieroglyphs in the Martian Northern Hemisphere's Cydonia region that matches archaeology and foreign hieroglyphs under 1 to 2 miles of Antarctic ice, that matches the archaeology and foreign hieroglyphs on the interior and backside of our moon. I have also learned that U.S. Navy SEAL Commander Spartan 1 and his longtime friend and colleague, Marine Intelligence Specialist Spartan 2, have also been told about non-human bases built by what they call our alien friends on the moon. Spartan 2 says there are also human bases on the moon that have secretly been built and operated by the International Coalition of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty signed on December 1st, 1959. Those nations include the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, Norway, France, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and Chile. Allegedly, some human coalition power brokers have learned from friendly alien intelligences that there are several places on our Earth where magnetic fields can be manipulated by advanced technologies to create portals, like doorways in space-time, that can be used to jump from point A to point B in seconds. Portals are described on our planet, on the moon, on Mars, and beyond throughout the Milky Way galaxy and the cosmos. And a couple of powerful portals on Earth are supposed to be at the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program known as HAARP in Gakona, Alaska. Another is said to be in Wilkes Land, East Antarctica. Here now to continue their backlighted, voice-altered interviews with me from last July 19th to 20th, 2018, is retired U.S. Navy SEAL Commander Spartan 1 and his longtime colleague, U.S. Marine and Intelligence Specialist Spartan 2. Spartan 1, let's switch this now to the backside of the moon. Is the base above ground, below ground?
As far as the description of the base, my understanding it's both above and below ground. It's a multi-structured facility. It goes deep into the planet's crust.
Into the moon?
Yes, ma'am.
And when they went deep into the crust of the moon, how did they do that?
Tunnel boring machines.
And when they went deep into the moon, what did they find?
The only thing that I do know is structures that are on the moon now, on the dark side. There are visible structures above ground, and there's multi-level structures beneath the ground.
How would we secretly build multiple structures above ground with Japan and China and others orbiting the moon?
It goes back to the coalition. It's been happening for years. A lot of the times when stuff was going up and we were told it was going up for the International Space Station, it wasn't. It was going up for this moon.
The backside
Yes, ma'am.
installation. Who is inside the moon base?
I would have to say it's a multinational group. It would have to be members from our coalition: Great Britain, France, Germany, United States, Canada. Yes.
What do they do?
It's just a trade route. It's a port.
And the people who are in this base in the backside of the moon, what are they doing? Where do they go?
I think they're training, and as far as where they go, I'm not sure where they go, but I know it's many light years away.
There have been others who have said that the hieroglyphs you have described in Antarctica match hieroglyphs that have been found in ancient archaeology on the moon. Do you have any information about that?
I've heard of the hieroglyphs being found, but I haven't been shown any pictures of what they may look like.
Spartan 2, do you have any firsthand even discussion information about the base on the backside of the moon, operations on Mars, and Antarctica, all three being related?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from what information I've gotten that they're related somehow. I'm to the understanding that our installations we had help building by our friends. I was told that the dark side of the moon, there's not just, above and below structures. There's an operation going and they're building a mothership on the moon. They're mining materials. And that
is correct.
They're mining materials and building a mothership. There's 2,500 individuals, humanoids on the moon.
And they're doing it because of low gravity and it's easier to build?
Yeah, and the very low cost of this stuff that they're mining, it's so easy to do. It's so much easier to do it there than it is to do it here and get it up there.
All of this, after last night and today, leaves me with this kind of haunting impression that we are split, at least in two completely different worlds. One is already out in space, moving out into the Milky Way galaxy, that some sort of ally intelligence that may have been involved with our creation, manipulation of DNA and already evolving primates to create humans. And we already have bases or places where humans are going in other solar systems with the help of these allies. I'm left with this feeling that a decision has been made, that it is vital for Homo sapiens sapien to get as many bases off of the Earth as possible, as fast as possible, and that whatever happens on Earth may not be defendable.
Well, it's a very plausible scenario, yes ma'am.
Well, what do you think?
I think that it very well can happen.
Have you had even a bar discussion with the men that we have talked about that are your mentors about the bottom line that Earth may have to
evacuate.
That Earth may not be able to evacuate, and therefore Earth will be the target zone, but we will have enough humans out
To continue the species.
There's plans been made, and it's done by the coalition. There are, from sometime last year, Kim was talking about, there are a couple of staging points that are set around the world, around the planet. And they are points where it's from there that they go up, stuff goes up. Whether it's stuff and people going up, or they're talking about the ascension and escaping a cataclysm, I don't know.
You said ascension. What do you mean?
Things being taken from this planet up, whether it's stuff and trade or people and escaping, I don't know. We weren't given that information. But there was something that it was a staging point where they stage either personnel and equipment or something they're trading with the beings out there or something, but there are staging points that they've set up in the world to move massive amounts of people or stuff to, for it all to go up.
The individual that I have been in contact with until recently, he is now in Cyber Command, and he has several photographs of certain things that's been not only in our outer atmosphere, but in close proximity. In fact, less than a year ago, there was supposed to be a reported solar flare that was going to disrupt major communications, and it was blocked by one of these aliens.
Well, I can go back to December 2016 and find headlines about the threat of a big solar flare, but which aliens blocked it? And how did they block something as powerful as a solar prominence?
This Cyber Command individual has a picture, several pictures or photographs of, I call it a man-made structure, sitting in orbit of Saturn that is, if you put pen to paper and did the mathematics on the size of this structure, it would boggle your mind when it was told to me. He's got photographs of this structure moving. The photographs were taken in a sequence as this structure was moving away from the planet.
From?
Saturn, yes ma'am.
It was coming to the sun?
Coming away from the sun. It had parked itself for a short period of time in the orbit of Saturn. And then the following pictures was as this structure was moving away from the outer orbit of Saturn.
And that's what was supposed to have blocked the prominence?
Yes.
The implication was that it did it from the rings of Saturn or that general vicinity?
Yes, ma'am.
If they helped block a prominence that could have hurt the Earth, why would there be any fear, and why couldn't it all be announced to the Earth?
Well, I think it comes down to controlling the information and controlling what the public knows. If you can control what they know, especially where it has to do with this information, they've been hiding it for so long. There's so many things that you would think would push them to, disclosing what's going on. But I think there's powers that are still helping control things that are not out for our best interest, but more for the best interests of something that, how do I put this, is not altruistic, having to do with the human race. It has to do more with, money and power and keeping that status quo the way it is because they benefit from things being like they are.
Has anybody talked to you about Wilkes Land?
What I've heard that it's a portal. A portal takes you from one structure to another or to a vessel outside our atmosphere. Like an invisible elevator. This particular portal was underground, inside a structure.
What did it look like?
It had a frame, had hieroglyphics, whatever the meanings were, we still don't know. But the structure, or the frame of this portal, acted like a wormhole from point A to point B, a moon pool.
A moon pool.
The description I've been told looks just exactly like a moon pool.
Okay, what is a moon pool?
A moon pool, say it's in a submarine that's very deep. You've got a hatch in the floor that is open to the sea. Water does not come in and flood the vessel. The ambient pressure keeps that water, but you can enter the water and ascend from it through this moon pool. Moon pools have been around for a very long time, since World War II. It's old diving bells has moon pools in the bottom. They set the diving bell on the bottom of the ocean, and it has a hole underneath. You can just swim right up into it. The ambient pressure inside the bell keeps the water at bay, per se.
And so, do you mean that using the word moon pool, that you're saying that there's something that's vertical that looks like a moon pool?
Looks like you're walking into the water, but it's not water.
Shape?
The ones I've been described of is square.
Square?
Yes, ma'am. It would be, I'm sure you've seen the movie Stargate.
Yes.
Exactly same thing, except the frame is square, not round.
With it looking like water?
Yes, ma'am.
Did anybody tell you what that is in this portal?
Only that it takes you from point A to point B. There are several portals on this planet that I know of, I've been told of.
And has anybody said when you go from point A to point B, you're leaving this universe and going to another dimension?
I would say some probably do, but the ones that they have experimented on, the point A being per se HARP. HARP, there's a portal there. That portal takes you from HARP to right outside of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. And it's not a lingering travel. Once you step through the plane of water, per se, you're there. It's not like the movie Stargate that you see stars coming at you and clouds of space dust. Once you go through that plane of water, you're stepping onto point B.
So what you're describing is that we're using extraterrestrial technology that are portals.
Yes, ma'am.
In which you can move A to B in space-time. And we're using it on the Earth to go from Alaska to Hawaii.
The one that I know of that's been traveled through many times is at the HARP facility. From there to Hawaii, yes ma'am.
Do you know of any others?
A few, yes ma'am. There's several in South America. There's one that was discovered at the facility I was telling you about in Antarctica.
If you could name the locations of where these portals are, where would they be?
Let's see, Alberta, Canada. Of course, Alaska, Hawaii. 4 that I've been told in Argentina. 3 in Egypt. 2 that I know of in Australia. What part of Australia I do not know as of yet.
All of the portals related to some sort of extraterrestrial portal?
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the portals, did anybody say to you, we know that this particular alien created the portals?
No, but that has been an ongoing question that I would been trying to get answered myself for a long time.
It leads to the question, who is our ally and who is our enemy?
Exactly. That I do not know, but I'm sure the higher-ups do. The upper echelon in D.C. and the coalition itself. To me, that's why they've kept it secret.
Why?
I'm not sure. I've got several theses. This is just one planet. We're using it up. And I think the coalition has found a way to save a certain amount of our race.
Versus which kind of destruction?
The way it's been explained to me that this planet itself is going to turn on us.
In what way?
Volcanic eruptions, as far as super volcanoes, massive movement of tectonic plates in the oceans, which causes tidal waves, extreme weather, diseases.
Has anybody ever talked to you about Noah's flood being a periodic cyclic reality on planet Earth?
It was proposed to me as a question for me to think about, yes.
What did they say? Like, do you think Noah's flood is...
They thought it wasn't God. It was made by the aliens itself. It was destruction put on this planet by them.
Because?
We were destroying the planet then. We were destroying ourselves. That's how it was put to me, yes.
That last symbol, carved in that massive black basalt door above the star pattern of 12 arms of rays extending outward, in a circular pattern with two 90-degree angles at the ends of each ray, and all 12 enclosed inside a circle, is what Germans long before Adolf Hitler called the Sonnenrad, which means sun wheel. A similar six-rayed pattern goes back to the first millennium BC, when Germanic tribes were 5- and 6-armed Sonnenrads. They made them into Sonnenrads that were brooches made of bronze that were placed in the graves of women. Some link that ritual with the Sonnenrads linked to the darkness before creation and the cycles of souls into matter bodies that live and die while the souls live on in rebirths. And at least one UK physicist thinks the pattern could also depict the transformation of an electric charge to a sphere when that charge is accelerated to the speed of light. But our modern world sees that pattern and thinks of Adolf Hitler's post-war Nazi SS political soldiers who adapted the black sun symbol as their logo and used it after World War II in white supremacist rallies. But where did this black sun pattern originate really? And why is it carved 7 centimeters deep by an unknown technology into each thick black basalt door throughout the acres of immense alien architecture that Navy SEAL Lieutenant Commander Spartan 1 walked through himself in August of 2003? If it is true that the last time Antarctica was free of ice, and that was 34 million years ago when its hot tropical climate suddenly switched to cold snow and ice, are those big black basalt doors at least 34 million years old as well? Those are questions that I am going to try to explore in my next Part 4 Earth Files YouTube broadcast in May. And now I would like to share an encrypted message that I received last week from another retired U.S. Navy SEAL who asked for anonymity. So he is like a peer with Spartan 1 and is still active in some ways in which he is working on classified missions. And he has reached out to me because he has been watching part 1, part 2, and tonight part 3, and has the ability to communicate with me with encryption. And I find this a fascinating dialogue now, coming from somebody who has also walked the long, long, huge halls in Antarctica, where Spartan 1 has been describing. And here is now another pair of eyes, ears, and a brain, who has also been there as recently as 2012. And here is what he wrote to me in an encrypted message. Quote, "The German scientists," and he means of World War II, "had their eye on the ball during the Nazi era. To wit, look at their symbols and how they correspond and share similarities in history, such as the ancient swastika and the black sun. Given the amount of research not only in Switzerland, Russia, and the US, and given what we know about photons, would it be hard to imagine that we've already been not only time traveling, but already in other interstellar systems, which is exactly what Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 have told me that they know personally, a man who for the past 2 years has been out on interstellar trade routes in the Milky Way galaxy, and he was born and raised here on Earth in the United States, but for 2 years has been out in a galaxy while we have never even been told we're not alone in this universe, and that it is thriving with consciousness and life." And this anonymous writer said, not only is it not difficult to imagine that we've been doing time traveling and traveling in interstellar systems, or, and this is his word to me, teletransporting. Think about apparent technology advances that all of this implies. Also note that our skin and eyes and gut are photoelectric receptors for sun-derived energy, sunlight spectrum, and that means that we are photon receptors from wherever the origin. I agree with you, Linda, that we humans have been and are now kept deliberately dumb. Humanity's attempt to wake up is being quashed by electromagnetic frequencies and the knowledge that all Homo sapiens sapien are electrosensitive. Thus, the advent of 5G and higher man-made frequencies that interfere with and destroy our innate antenna. Because of that, we're already seeing significant disease and new diseases in first world countries such as the United States. It begs the question, who is in control? About Antarctica, Linda, as you now know and may perhaps surmise, the South Pole has a direct connection to the sun and possibly to the moon in addition. Therefore, consider that it might not just be the moon that has bases and stations, and he's implying the rest of our solar system. Linda, keep on exposing and splitting minds. Close quote. Sir, I'm trying. I'm going to keep trying to split minds, which for me is down with entropy, up with light, trying to communicate with people what a concocted planet of lies we are living on, and that there are people in our military forces and in our intelligence forces who have been exposed to non-humans in a direct way or have walked this archaeology. And if it is 34 million years, who has the right to deny all of humanity seeing the ancient cycles of life that have been on this planet so long before Homo erectus ever stood up 2 million years ago? Now,